Hello, my friends. It is Friday, and we're going to read some more of Who Was Mr. Rogers, and then we'll have the weekend off. All right, so let's go back to reading, and we were on Chapter 3, Leaving Home. Fred graduated from high school in 1946. By then, he had changed his mind about becoming a pilot. Instead, he decided to become a diplomat, someone who works with people from other countries to help solve problems. He enrolled at Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire. He planned to study foreign languages like French and Italian. They would help him talk to people from different parts of the world. After a year, though, Fred decided he didn't like Dartmouth very much. The winters were long and cold. He thought the teachers weren't very friendly. Plus, he missed making music. Fred transferred into the music department at Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. He liked the people at Rollins College, and the warmer weather was nice, too. So this is where he went first, which is Dartmouth. That's their crest, kind of like the Hogwarts crest. And then this must be the one in Florida. I'm guessing that because it has palm trees. Okay. One of the first people Fred met was another music student named Joanne Bird. She was amazed by how Fred could play the piano by ear without using any sheet music. Sometimes he played popular songs everyone knew. Other times he could make one up on the spot. No one else could do that. The two became good friends. At Rollins, Fred was a good student. In 1951, he was set to graduate with a degree in music. Then he wanted to continue his education at a seminary, a place where he would study to become a minister. Fred had grown up going to church, and he wanted religion to be an important part of his life. But everything changed during his last year of college. When he came home for a school break, his parents had a surprise to show him. They had bought a television. Television was still very new in the early 1950s, and not many families owned one. Fred had never watched TV. He was curious to see it. Later, Fred could not remember the name of the first program he watched, but he did remember one thing. It was terrible. It showed people throwing pies in each other's faces. Fred thought it was just a silly waste of time. Here are he and Joanne at the piano at college. TV was coming into more living rooms every day. If the programs were well made, television could be both entertaining and educational. It could be a wonderful way to reach people, especially young people. So here he is watching the TV, and you can see that he's watching a show where people are just throwing pies at somebody's face. The early days of television. One of the first television stations to begin broadcasting was from a General Electric plant in New York State in 1928. But not too many people saw the news program that WRGB aired 3 days a week. Almost no one owned a television set yet. By 1951, there were about 10 million sets in the United States. Everything was still broadcast in black and white, and stations did not broadcast overnight. But audiences loved all the entertainment they could watch without having to leave their homes. Most shows were broadcast live, meaning that audiences saw them at the same time they were being performed in the studio. By the mid-1960s, color television sets began outselling black and white ones. So it's showing a family watching TV back then. After watching a single show, Fred made a big decision. He told his parents that he wasn't going into the seminary after all. Instead, he was going to look for a job in the television business. They were surprised and not sure Fred had thought things through. "You've never even seen it," they told him. "Well, I've seen enough of it here that I'd like to try," replied Fred. He knew he was doing the right thing. Here he is talking to his parents. Chapter 4, In the Studio. After he graduated college in 1951, Fred moved to New York City, where he applied for a job at NBC. The television network needed an assistant producer to work on several of its music programs, and Fred had a degree in music. That was a good fit, and he was hired. Although the job sounded important, at first Fred mostly served coffee and ran errands. He learned how to deal with many different kinds of people. Once he was yelled at for bringing someone the wrong drink. Fred remembered that feeling. He might never be famous or important, but he would always try to treat people well. Before long, Fred got promoted to the job of floor manager. He worked on several programs like NBC Opera Theater, The Kate Smith Hour, The Gabby Hayes Show, and Your Hit Parade. As floor manager, Fred's job was to make sure everything ran smoothly. Here he is giving the guy coffee who apparently was rude to him, that made him think, I will always be kind to people. He was in charge of telling the crew, the people who worked behind the scenes, when to change the sets. He got the props the actors needed. Sometimes he needed a little help to get the red vase or the green parrot. Fred was colorblind, so he could not tell red from green. He also gave actors their cues to get on or off the stage. He was always looking at the clock because everything was carefully timed. Since the shows aired live, there were no do-overs. Everyone had only one chance to do it right. Here he is working on the show. Of course, that didn't always happen. One time, Kate Smith was singing in front of a set painted to look like a farmhouse. When Fred thought the song was over, he told the crew to raise the set into the rafters over the stage, but he said it too early. Kate wasn't finished yet. As the set went up, it looked to the audience like she was sinking lower and lower. Everyone knew there would be mistakes from time to time, though. Most people laughed about them. Fred also worked with the Western star Gabby Hayes, who had a show for children. Fred loved kids, and the two became friends. Television stars performed for thousands of people, and they couldn't even see them. Fred thought that must be hard. He asked Hayes how he did it. Hayes told him his secret. Freddie, he said, I think of one little buckaroo. He meant that he performed as if there were only one child in the audience. That made sense to Fred. People watching a movie or a play sat in an audience with a lot of other people, but when they watched TV, they did it in their homes. It was much more personal, like the show was playing just for them. Later, when Fred got in front of the camera himself, he always imagined himself talking to just one little buckaroo. Here's that Kate is the singer, and she was singing live, and they started to lift up the backdrop, but she wasn't done. Kind of like going to see a play instead of watching a movie. It's live, so you can't fix anything that goes wrong. There's an inset talking about who Gabby Hayes is. It says, Gabby Hayes, he was alive from 1885 to 1969. Before he went into television, George Gabby Hayes was a popular movie actor who appeared in Western films in the 1930s and 1940s. The nickname Gabby came from a character that was created for him, Gabby Whitaker. In Hayes' movies, the star was usually a famous actor like Roy Rogers or John Wayne. Hayes usually played the loyal sidekick, who was often cranky but still good-hearted. He was known for his funny expressions such as, you're darn tootin' and jumpin' Jehoshaphat. So that's a picture of him. Fred had made new friends in New York, but he missed Joanne Bird, his friend from college. She was still in Florida. Fred knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. He wrote her a letter asking her to marry him. Joanne was so excited that she called him on the phone and accepted his proposal. They were married in 1952. Fred's career was going great. He was on his way up the ladder. Then yet again, Fred decided to make a sudden change. Here he is with his bride when they got married, Joanne. Chapter 5, The Children's Corner. Fred liked working as a floor manager at NBC, but he didn't think it was quite the right job for him. He dreamed of making music and creating television programs himself, not just managing what other people created. He heard that a new TV station, WQED, was starting up in Pittsburgh. Fred liked the idea of being near his hometown. Even more, he liked the idea that WQED was an educational station. WQED was operated by National Educational Television, NET, which became the Public Broadcasting System, PBS, in 1970. As an educational station, WQED was created to serve many different viewers. There would be room for all kinds of shows, not just the pie-in-the-face kind. Fred's friends thought his plan was crazy. He already had a successful career in New York, and WQED wasn't even on the air yet. But Fred knew what he wanted. He and Joanne left New York for Pittsburgh in the fall of 1953. Fred was one of only 6 people hired at the new station. His job was to put together a schedule of programs. The station manager, Dorothy Daniel, thought some of WQED's programming should be for children. Fred volunteered for the job. This would give him a chance to create a new TV show, just like he had always wanted. He teamed up with Josie Carey, who also worked at the station, to make an hour a day of children's programming. Their budget was only $30 per show, so they had to do something cheap. They came up with the idea of a program called The Children's Corner. Josie would sing songs while Fred played the piano. In between, they would show short films. So this is the original Josie Corner show? Wait, is it called? Sorry, Children's Corner. There's another inset. Commercial versus public television. It can be quite expensive to make television shows. In commercial television, advertisers buy small chunks of airtime during which they put on commercials for their products. The TV station then uses money earned from commercials to create TV programs. Commercial stations air shows that they think will be popular. When more people watch, the station can charge more money for commercials. Public television stations do not air commercials. They make shows with money they get from the government, as well as donations from people and companies. Public television stations don't have to worry about what the most popular kinds of shows might be. They often take chances on a wider variety of programs. WQED started its regular programming on April 5th, 1954. The night before, Dorothy Daniel threw a party for the staff. Everyone got a small gift. Fred was a puppet that looked like a tiger. That was the perfect gift for him, since he had loved to play with puppets as a child. He named it Daniel Striped Tiger after Dorothy Daniel. The puppet gave Fred an idea. Why not use him on the Children's Corner? Part of the show's set was painted to look like a clock, and Fred cut a hole in the clock so Daniel could poke through from behind. Fred used a high, squeaky voice to make Daniel talk to Josie, who was in front of the set. The Striped Tiger was a hit. More puppets and more voices by Fred joined the cast later. So here he is the night he got his Daniel the Tiger puppet, and here they are using it on the show. Putting on a live TV show kept everyone on their toes. As soon as Fred finished playing the piano for one scene, he had to dash across the stage to perform with the puppets. He started wearing sneakers at work so his footsteps would be quieter. He also kept his hands in his pockets to stop his change from jingling as he ran. Offstage, Fred's family was growing. He and Joanne had their first son, James, in 1959. Their second son, John, was born in 1961. Here he is running from one place on set to another. Being a father gave Fred first-hand experience with kids, but he wanted to know even more. He was interested in learning about young children's feelings. He wanted to understand why they thought and acted the way they did. He took classes in child development at the University of Pittsburgh and paid close attention to how children behaved. Fred had also not forgotten about his goal of becoming a minister. He enrolled at Western Theological Seminary in Pittsburgh and took classes during his lunch hour. He finished school there in 1962. By then, Fred had been at WQED for almost 10 years. Then one day he got an important call. It was from the director of children's programming for a TV station in Canada. The director wanted Fred to move to Canada to create an entirely new show for preschool children. Fred thought it was a great opportunity. He said yes. Here he is taking his night school classes. Okay, that'll be our next chapter. That's chapter 6, and it starts Welcome to the Neighborhood. All right, so that is all that I have for today, and I think that's it. So even though it's spring break, we're going to continue doing read-alouds. Miss Hare and I will still be doing the live read-alouds on Instagram, and I will be taping the read-alouds and putting them on Google Classroom and YouTube, just the same as I have been doing. If you need anything, if you just want to talk, email me, message me, or reach out any way you can. You know how to get a hold of me. I think I'm pretty accessible. And that's all I have. I hope you have a great weekend. It was really nice seeing you guys this morning. Talk to you guys later. Bye.